Hi, it's Richard, author Richard Hooke, and I just wanted to tell you a little bit about my book, The Path Toward Truth, uh, on Amazon. And now this book, The Path Toward Truth, uh, when I completed the book in 2017, I'd been a hardcore JFK assassination researcher for about 8 years and written 6 books on the subject. So the new truths I've exposed in The Path Toward Truth are mature and provide a solid foundation for my subsequent work with Rachel White of the United Kingdom. So this book is the foundation of that and the summation of my previous work up to that point. This book, The Path Toward Truth, explains Lee Harvey Oswald and the U.S. government agency CIA, DIA, Texas School Book Depository, 6th Floor Hit Team's movements on 11/22/63 from 11:45 a.m. through 12:30 p.m. to an unprecedented level of detail. Nearly a minute-by-minute account is given. The book explains the true story of Oswald's infamous Coke encounter and how the real truth was morphed to fit one of the Warren Commission's liking. The book explains how we now know DISC O&I agent Malcolm Wallace was the real TSBD 6th floor shooter from the opposite end of the floor from the bogus sniper's nest. And Lee Oswald was down in the first floor front doorway at 12:30 p.m. watching JFK getting shot and merely a spectator. The book contains my original paper, 30 Reasons Why We Know Mac Wallace Was the Real TSBD 6th Floor Shooter, originally published on the Veterans Today website. The book gives a highly detailed account of the shooting of JFK and of the U.S. government agency sponsored hit teams in the county records, Daltex, Texas School Book Depository buildings, inside the pergola, by the freeway sign, and behind the picket fence on the upper and lower northern grassy knoll along Elm Street. The book explains how the TSBD 6th floor hit team was able to enter and exit the TSBD undetected, and how Oswald at 12:35 p.m., wearing his distinctive brown long-sleeve overshirt jacket, walked to the corner of Houston and Elm Street and was given a fully loaded, broken revolver from Mossad CIA mafia asset Jack Rubenstein, and how Oswald was then picked up at 12:40 p.m. in front of the TSBD by a light green Nash Rambler station wagon, procured for the Oswald family by CIA assets Ruth Hyde Payne of Irving, Texas, and Clay Shaw of New Orleans. The book explains how Lee Oswald, after CIA Mossad agent Frank Sturgis, his Latino driver, and disc agent Malcolm Wallace were dropped off at the Holland Avenue safe house, Oswald, wearing his long-sleeve brown overshirt, drove to the Tidy Lady Laundrette in Oak Cliff, called his CIA controller on a payphone, abandoned the Rambler station wagon, and walked straight to the Texas Theater. Entering at approximately 1:08 p.m., approximately the same time J.D. Tippit was killed 6 blocks away at 10th and Patton by the CIA. The book explains how Jack Ruby framed Lee Oswald at the Texas Theater for the murder of J.D. Tippit by running in an Oswald imposter at 1:30 p.m. who hid in the balcony, and then Ruby pointed out Oswald from behind, down in the lower level, to the Dallas police who came in from the stage. The book contains my original paper where I proved Lee Oswald's purported bus and cab ride was entirely a U.S. government CIA asset attorney concocted lie to frame Oswald for the murder of J.D. Tippit, and explains how Oswald was really picked up by one of Ruth Payne's station wagons at 12:40 p.m. and definitely did not take any bus or cab ride at all. The Path Toward Truth contains my complete and original proof of Lee Oswald's 77 features of match, of Altkin 6 doorman to photos of Oswald taken later that afternoon after he was arrested and taken down the hallway of the Dallas Police Department at 2 p.m. wearing the distinctive brown overshirt jacket he had on when he was standing in the TSPD doorway watching JFK getting shot at 12:30, proving Oswald was definitely just the patsy, exactly like he told everyone. So you will forever have your own copy of Oswald's ironclad alibi on your bookshelf. Undeniable proof Oswald never shot anyone on 11/22/63 for your children to reference and for you to refer to if you ever have any doubt. So I have my original paper in here, and you get it. And it explains everything. The 77 points of match and the mathematical proof completed by myself and Jim Fetzer, proving Oswald was in the doorway. So you have that. The complete and final paper I did on that in the book. The book explains how Oswald in the doorway at 12:30 p.m. proves Buell Wesley Frazier, Ruth and Michael Payne, and Lennie Mae Randall did not tell the truth, and how they assisted the CIA deep state conspirators to frame Lee Oswald for the murders of JFK and J.D. Tippit by concocting the story that Oswald rode to work with Frazier the morning of 11/22/63 with a disassembled rifle in a package, when the truth is Oswald drove in by himself in Ruth Payne's Nash Rambler station wagon to work at the TSPD on 11/22 and did not ride in with Buell Frazier at all that final morning. The book explains that refrigerator salesman Ralph Yates picked up Oswald hitchhiking to work on 11/20 that previous Wednesday, and Oswald was carrying what appeared to be a fully assembled rifle wrapped in brown paper. Oswald said was curtain rods, that he was good friends with Jack Ruby, and then Oswald asked Ralph Yates if he thought someone could shoot the president from the top of a tall building with a high-powered rifle. Yates did not report his story until after the assassination. So the story of how the CIA patsy brought in his rifle disguised as curtain rods was already used up. But since nobody knew about it, conspirators Ruth Hyde Payne, Buell Wesley Frazier, and Lennie Mae Randall reconstructed another version of this story to explain how their CIA lone nut patsy, Lee Oswald, who they maintained could not even drive a car, got his rifle in to shoot the president, when the truth is Oswald did not ride to work with Frazier on 11/22 and never brought in any disassembled rifle in any package, and witnesses said Frazier was in his car alone and Oswald entered the TSPD alone the final morning, carrying only a sack lunch. The book tells how J. Edgar Hoover's FBI, in order to make Ralph Yates' story go away, committed refrigerator salesman Ralph Yates to a mental institution and gave Ralph Yates tranquilizing drugs and shock treatments in order to erase his memory. But Ralph Yates never recanted his story, and then a few years later, Yates died in a mental institution. The book explains how we know, although Jimmy Sutton, also known as James Files, may well have fired the final frangible round into JFK's right temple, Files has not told us the whole truth, because there was at least one other shooter and many others behind the picket fence, yet Files maintains he was back there alone. Frank Fiorini, also known as Sturgis, CIA Mossad, more than likely was standing right behind Files and was the manager and spotter of the picket fence hit teams, who ran off James Files' rifle exactly as witness Ed Hoffman described. Sturgis, no doubt, was the man in a business suit and hat that Ed Hoffman said he saw run off the rifle down to the electrical switch box, where Sturgis passed that rifle to a third man who broke down the rifle, stuffed it in a bag, and ran it back off through the rail yard. And the book contains a photo of Frank Sturgis at the Dallas PD later that afternoon, dressed exactly as Ed Hoffman described. And finally, the book explains the full complicity of John Roselli, CIA Mafia, in the JFK hit and the multitude of connections of the hit to Israel, whose interests and forces were very heavily behind the entire sordid operation. This is just an overview of my book, The Path Toward Truth, available on Amazon Books, spiral-bound hard copy in grayscale print, or for electronic download ebook in color to your electronic device. The Path Toward Truth.